Tuesday stream again, this time with another new lyrical ride line Halloween theme with some brand key support cards that showed up in the anime with the generic. So let's begin. No card of the day, so on to the Tuesday stream. So first off, here are some promos. This is the Consistency Searcher promo for both OTT and Dimension Police, I believe. And then to the new brand gate cards, we start out with Scoot Paying Dragon. It's a grade 2 with taking power and the skill is Auto Rearguard. When this card attacks a Vanguard, costs counterblast 1. For every 5 grades in your order zones, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. And plus also extra 5k power. So meaning if there's a sum of 10, you retire 2 and then plus 10k. And 15, plus 15k and retire 3. All I can only say is this is a decent tech card to tech in if you have space for your brand gate deck. And it also depends on what type of set order deck that you play, because depending on the set order deck you play in brand gate, you might end up not really having those set orders in your order zone. And now for the generic for brand gate, Macro Cosmic Dragon Merstolge. It's grade 3 with drinking power, has the same skill where when discarded from hand for riding a grade 3 from the ride deck or striding for as a cost, draw a card, with the other part where when placed on rearguard or guardian, choose up to 1 grade 4 from your hand to reveal it. If you reveal the card and your Vanguard is grade 4, perform the abilities depending on what circle is on. On rearguard, soul charge 1 plus 10k power in turn, guardian shield plus 15k into battle. Just generic card, if you can run it, you can run it. Seems like these are going to be meant for the stride deck sets more than the grade 4 decks, since we don't really have grade 4 decks as much now. And now to the new ride line itself called LèVre. I can't pronounce that. But here's the starter, which is Corcris. Not gonna bother pronouncing the archetype name because that's gonna be quite hard. In which we go to Levi's Source Hudia, which is the grade 1 wiki power, and the skill is auto when rolled upon by the grade 2 of the ride line. You may call this to rearguard. If you call a card, soul charge 1, and then put this to soul at the end of the turn. Extra attacker while also giving you a free soul. Yep, pretty good. With the second skill where auto rearguard at the end of battle, this card attacked or boosts. If you have a 23k or greater Vanguard, that is LèVre. I'm not gonna bother continue pronouncing that. Cost, put 2 grade 2 or less rearguards with this archetype name with different names into your soul and draw a card. Feels like Dimension Police here because of the power requirement, but hey, free soul and even more soul. Which means this deck's playstyle is gonna revolve around soul along with power requirement, in which we go to the grade 2 Kamina, which of course has 10k power and has the skill Count Vanguard. If your soul has 2 or more grade 1 or less cards with this archetype name that are different names, when you would ride a grade 3 with this archetype name from your ride deck, you can ride it without discarding a card from your hand, which you are guaranteed because you're gonna have the grade 1 and grade 0. But anyway, second skill, auto rearguard. When this unit is chosen by the ability of your Vanguard that has 23k or more power with this archetype name, you can countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. Main resource engine might just run more copies in your main deck as well. In where we go to the grade 3 with drinking power, LèVre Charmant, which has the skill act Vanguard once per turn, cost counterblast 1. Choose up to 2 grade 2 or less with this archetype name from your soul and call them to rearguard, and this unit gets plus 5k power until the end of turn, which will make it 18k. But with the second skill, where auto Vanguard, when this card attacks while not being boosted, choose 3 of your grade 2 or less rearguards with this archetype name with different names until the end of turn. Change their powers to match this unit's power. It's already going to be at least 18k on its own, but the choosing unit part is going to be a little important because, well, some of them, as you can see from the grade 2 of the ride line, will trigger abilities. And based on this deck's playstyle, there's a power requirement in this deck. So very likely chance you're going to be giving your Vanguard even more power. And speaking of power requirement, the next part of the skill where if this unit has 33k or more power and your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, cost Soul Blast 2, until in turn, the rearguard in the back row center column that gets chosen by this card's ability in the back row can perform drive checks. Based on this skill alone, it already tells you not to boost, so you're going to be giving it power by other means. This extra part is basically just an extra bonus to give you an extra attack with extra drive checks, which in a way is basically another rearguard attack with drive checks. This is just a lot of pressure. The power requirement might be a little bit difficult other than through Persona Ride, but with through support, you might actually be able to pull this off pretty easily even on your first grade 3 ride. And the soul is pretty easy, as you can tell from the ride line itself. Overall, it's a pretty cool concept so far, even though it's basically Dimension Police with Dark Irregulars. And now to some support, we got Living Up Light Claw today, which is a grade 1 with keep powering the skills. Auto Rearguard at the end of battle that this unit boosts if your Vanguard is whatever archetype name. Cost, put this into Soul to Soul Charge 2, aka give you 3 Soul. Considering that this is not really a Counterblast deck but a Soul Blast deck, this is pretty worth it. In which we go to Dream Spurring Ramona, which is a grade 3 with keep power, and the skill is Act Rearguard. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with LèVre, I'm not going to pronounce that, in its name, cost, put this and another Rearguard to Soul to draw a card and then choose your Vanguards. It gets plus 5 keep power in a turn. Vanguard itself will give itself 5k, so with this it will become 23k, which will meet some requirements. You must run this to help you get some extra power. And then we get a Magician's Work Colby, which is a grade 2 with taking power in the skills. Auto, when placed on Rearguard, if your Vanguard is at least grade 3 with the archetype name, cost, counterblast 1, choose one of your Vanguards, it gets plus 5 keep power in turn, and then if your Vanguard has 23k or more power, you also draw a card, aka activate the first skill, which will give itself 5k, and then plus this one will make it 23k. So the 23k isn't too hard of a requirement. It's the 33k that can be a little bit more tricky other than Persona right turns. Finally, Vivid Night Festival Aurelius, which is a grade 1 with keep power in the skills. Auto, when placed on Rearguard, costs, counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less with the archetype name, reveal it and put it to your hand, and of course shuffle your deck. This first skill alone makes this a must run because it just searches up your deck. But the second skill makes it better, where Act Rearguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater archetype name, cost, rest this unit, choose 1 card from your drop zone and put it to Soul, and then choose one of your Vanguards and plus 5k power in a turn. Not only gives you Soul, and also lets you search up your deck, but it also gives us extra power, which is going to be very helpful because more power the better, because power requirements for the deck. Another must run off. So that's it for the new Brand Gate support with the LèVre archetype. What do you guys think of it? The Brand Gate stuff is just whatever, but the new ride line, which I cannot pronounce, is actually pretty cool in concept, even though it's basically Dimension Police combined with Dark Irregulars because of Soul. And I always like Dimension Police as a concept because I like the power requirement part to unlock abilities. And here they're basically doing that with waifus. Surprised that it took them a while to basically do this again, but I'm glad they kind of brought it back. Overall, pretty cool concept of an archetype with no boosting. But other than that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.